Hey everyone, I'm Simon here for the Ether Hub, bringing you more Magic the Gathering lore. Now, I know a lot of you probably haven't really seen me talking into a camera recently, or maybe ever, but I really wanted to try out a new form of trying to make some videos where I'm just talking about my own thoughts and feelings about things going on in Magic, and I figured this was the most expedient way to do that. Now, for this pretty short video, I wanted to give my thoughts, speculations, predictions on murders at Karlov Manor. Namely, what I think is going to be coming from the story and possibly some card mechanics as well in this new set. But before we get into the meat of this video and my feelings on Murders at Karlov Manor, I just wanted to tell you guys about a great new holiday gift opportunity that you can give to anybody that is a Magic the Gathering fan, or even just a gift to yourself. It is the holiday season, and we're all clamoring for great gift ideas to give our nerdy friends. If you're looking for something special this holiday season to give anybody who's a fan of MTG, I would highly recommend this. This is the Alpha Black Lotus Silver Collectible Coin. Look how gorgeous this thing is. I just got mine in the mail the other day, and I have to say, guys, its quality is even beyond what I thought it was going to be. It is absolutely stunningly gorgeous. Look at that awesome original Black Lotus art on this silver coin. It is so fantastic, and it even came in this wonderful wooden display box. Like, even the craftsmanship on this thing alone is worth it. It is so cool. Has a nice little letter of authenticity so you guys know it's real. They're very limited supply, and they're going to be available for purchase as of today, the 15th of December. So it's the perfect gift to get anybody who's an MTG fan. And honestly, like, it is just absolutely gorgeous. This silver Black Lotus coin. I love it, you guys. I have mine. Use my link in the description below and you can find out more about it and get your own. And believe me, supply is not going to last very long, so I would suggest going and checking it out ASAP. It is absolutely stunning. Look at this thing. Look at it. Anyway, let's get back to the video. Now, back to Murders at Karlov Manor. I want to focus on the story a little bit. It is my bread and butter after all. And what do I think is going to come out of this set's storyline? Well, what we do know so far is that this is the continuation of the Omen Path arc, the current story arc of Magic the Gathering, that started right after the Phyrexians' invasion of the multiverse. The quote-unquote main character that we've been following on this story arc so far is Kellen, who is a native Eldraine who found an Omen Path, which is sort of like these tears in the fabric of space-time caused by the consequences of Phyrexia's invasion of the multiverse. And these allow non-planeswalking characters to travel throughout the multiverse and visit other worlds, despite them not being planeswalkers, and Kellen is one such figure. And since we've followed him through these past couple of sets right after the invasion, it's safe to say that Kellen is likely the main character here. Kellen is again going to appear in Murders at Karlov Manor, not as a victim or the murderer, but as just a detective that's working to solve the case. Now, he's kind of acted like a detective already, trying to find his father, Oko. It's kind of like his whole reason for jumping through the multiverse is to find his wayward father, Planeswalker Oko. And he's found himself on Ravnica and in the midst of this murder mystery. Now, along with Kellen are going to be two other premier main characters, one being one we already know, which is Kaya, who was a former guildmaster of Ravnica, and she's returned there with her Planeswalker Spark. She's still a Planeswalker, to Ravnica to kind of help them out, because she kind of left them high and dry when she went to go fight the Phyrexians, but she's trying to make do on some good promises that she made there and helping them out through this latest crisis. Another is a brand new character, a head detective it looks like on this case. His name is August Proft, and he's a very debonair kind of character. He's going to be the one going through all these clues and probably at the end of it figuring out who done it. Now, that's not to say that Proft is going to be getting all of the airtime. Kaya and Kellen will be banding together, as we've seen on cards like Fanatical Strength. they're going to be working together to also help solve this mystery. Now, for a little bit more speculation on my part, I feel all of these elements of a murder mystery, whodunit sort of situation just screams like a less impactful, consequential story for the plane of Ravnica. Now, Ravnica is a fan favorite plane, and make no mistakes, I love Ravnica, but every time we go to Ravnica, there's like this world-shattering event that's taking place there. The upending of society as we know it with the ending of the Guild Pact. Of course, it was the central plane where Nicobolas attacked to regain his godhood. It was the centerpiece of War of the Spark. And of course, most recently, the Phyrexians attacking all of the multiverse, with Ravnica included. So, in this story, I feel like we're going to be taking a step back from those more high tension, high consequence sort of events, and really just doing a down-to-earth, like on the street level of Ravnica type adventure following this murder mystery. Now, that's not to say there's not going to be any major consequences here. Of course, any hostile action taken by a guild of Ravnica on the other guilds is going to have some major repercussions, especially politically, and how the guilds deal with one another post the Guild Pact breaking. And that, of course, means we could possibly get the living Guild Pact involved, who is now Niv Mizzet, after he took that title in his resurrection and one-on-one fight with Nicobolas. So Niv Mizzet the Dragon is currently the living Guild Pact and the arbiter between all the guilds, and we'll likely see him reappear in this story to kinda deliberate on these murders. There's lots of world building that I expect from Murders at Karlov Manor's story, namely what Ravnica looks like following the invasion of the Phyrexians. Now, there's not a lot of information we have right now, but this is where we can really expand upon the story on such a impactful world for many of us players like Ravnica. I don't know about you guys, but Ravnica is one of, if not my favorite plane of all time. It has just a lot of different elements that all work really, really well together from story building perspectives. And I really need to see a more fleshed out sort of list of things that have changed since the Phyrexians invaded. Which guilds are on top, which guilds are on bottom, who was impacted the most. We already know at least 2 guilds are heavily depleted thanks to the Phyrexians invasion. The Simic being one, the Izzet possibly being another, and then House Demir sort of vanishing, but no one really knowing what's going on with them. But outside of that, I'm really looking forward to seeing how the world operates post-War of the Spark, which we also didn't get a lot of information on following that story arc. So yeah, of course, with Niv Mizzet being the living Guild Pact of Ravnica, how is he, this central figure, working with the guilds, making sure that stability and balance remains a constant on Ravnica? That's stuff that I really want to hear more about, because the time where Jace Beleren was the living Guild Pact, him being a planeswalker and being removed from Ravnica from time to time, it caused a lot of chaos. Has there been more stability now that Niv Mizzet is the living Guild Pact? Now, with all that being said, and the story going in likely a lighter direction, you're probably not going to get a lot of the things that you expect from a story based on Ravnica. I think we're going to get a much more toned down idea of the inter-guild relationships here. You're probably not going to see a lot of the large, grand inter-guild conspiracies and attacks and betrayals that has kind of established Ravnica as being this premier story spotlight. I just don't think that's going to fit in with the flavor that they're trying to go with Murders at Karlov Manor. Since this is going to be such a niche story following a series of crimes and the resolution of those crimes, I just don't see a lot of wiggle room to talk about how the Izzet feel about this Simic, or how House Demir is trying to topple the Selesnyan Conclave. I just don't think those elements are going to be there with this story. Again, that's not to say that major characters aren't going to play big roles. We've already seen the guild leader of the Boros Legion, Aurelia, sort of make an appearance in the story, as well as being on a spotlight card that's already been spoiled. As she appears on the card Demand Answers, we get a lot of flavor text with her demanding that the agency, this new group of guildless people who are only there to act as detectives and figure out crimes, she demands that they find an answer within a very short time frame, or she's going to declare war on the Cult of Rakdos, who she believed probably made an attempt on her life, although she most likely doesn't have definitive evidence to that. Another card that was spoiled for Murders at Karlov Manor that makes me lean towards this being a lighter story in Magic the Gathering is the card Meddling Youths. Now, obviously this is a nice little nod to Scooby-Doo and the Mystery Gang, working together to solve crimes and stuff like that. Cards like these kind of indicate to me when this is going to be more of a lighthearted affair. Even though it is dealing with serious topics like murder, I do feel like it's going to be a just much more down-to-earth, less consequential story in Magic the Gathering. This is just another stepping stone in the Omen Path arc that we're right now in the middle of. So with Kellen again appearing in the story, we're likely to see him edge a little bit closer to finding his father, Oko, who he's hot on the trails of. Based on the key art of some upcoming MTG sets, we know that Oko will be featured in the upcoming Western-themed set, Outlaws of Thunder Junction. So that's where this story is probably going to culminate, and where Oko will first meet his son, Kellen. And as this chase starts to wind down, we start to see little clues and nods to that eventual meeting, mostly on cards, visually, such as the newly spoiled Wojak Investigator, an angel with this blue feather, blue feathers being heavily indicated to belong to Oko, being left around Ravnica. So, perhaps Oko is somewhere here on Ravnica, or at least visited Ravnica, which is causing Kellen to indulge himself in these investigative matters. Now, the major bit of speculation that I want to do for this video is to simply say who I believe probably caused these murders. And it's not going to surprise a lot of you, but I really think that House Demir under Lazav probably had something to do with it. Now, if you don't know, House Demir is all about subtlety, secretiveness, and being in the shadows, collecting information, assassins, blackmail, a lot of underhanded tactics, and murder is definitely within their wheelhouse. The reason I believe it's House Demir over any other guild is because they're currently missing in the story, and them being missing has been specifically called out in the first story. So if House Demir is sort of just laying low, they probably had something to do with the murders at Karlov Manor. Now, with my story speculations out of the way, let me get into what I think is going to come in terms of card design for Murders at Karlov Manor, and I think a lot of old fans of Ravnica might be a little bit disappointed in what I have to say. What I think we're going to get is based a lot off of what we've already seen and what was spoiled for the set, and that is a lot of detectives and a lot of the mechanic investigate and a lot of synergies regarding clues. Now, clues have been in the game for a while now. I think it came out in Eldritch Moon, Shadows over Innistrad, that's one of those sets. And ever since, clues have been a pretty nice way of keeping the tempo of games up, regardless of what you actually draw off the top of your deck. So it's a very useful sort of mechanic, and it seems like a murder mystery was the best time to introduce a lot of clue synergies. With that being said, and investigate and clues being a forefront of this set, I do think, just like in the story, we're going to take a step back from all of the guild synergies that we're used to seeing on sets focused on Ravnica. One of the reasons I always love returning to Ravnica is the inter-synergies of guilds and cards related to guilds all working together and sort of sharing mechanics so it allows you to play those guilds sort of in a deck. You can always build a deck around the Simic or the Boros. It was a fun way to identify your playstyle with a guild, and I think that might be missing in Murders at Karlov Manor. With the lack of guild synergy mechanics, I think we're not going to see a return of split cards, which aren't exclusive to Ravnica sets, but they've been prominent in the past few Ravnica sets, and I just don't think we're going to see those here. Again, we're going to be seeing a lot more investigate type mechanics throughout this set. I will say we are going to see probably new cards for all of the major figures in the factions of Ravnica. Like, we've already seen Rakdos, and we've already seen Aurelia. We're going to see new cards for Lavinia. We're going to see new cards for other guild leaders like Zagana, for the Simic. We're going to see all those people returning, all those characters returning in new cards. But I don't think they're going to have a really guild mechanic tying them together with other cards that share their colors. Now, I do hope I'm wrong. These are just my first thoughts and speculations on it, because I really love how Ravnica ties cards together through mechanics based on guild identity. That's why I love Ravnica personally, so I really hope they do return to that direction. This is just my first initial thoughts. But from what I'm seeing in the story and the direction that they're going in, kind of taking a step back at looking at the guilds as a whole and the structure of Ravnican society in exchange for going more in depth and deep into a singular niche, this investigation and murder, I feel like they're going to do that with a game mechanic standpoint as well, kind of removing themselves from the interlacing of guild-specific mechanics for more generic, able to build around any one of these types of cards mechanics. Now, while I personally don't really like the idea of that, that's just the way I believe this is leaning. And I, for one, don't like the idea of exchanging guild identity for the flavor of a murder mystery. And now I just want to end this video, wrap it up, with just a little bit of my personal feelings on my favorite guild and where they stand in the story, the Simic Combine. Now, I love the Simic so much, not only just from a flavor standpoint, but mechanically as well. I've built several Simic related decks over my time, and every time we go to Ravnica, I'm always clamoring to get my hands on whatever the Simic cook up for that set. I've loved all of their mechanics dealing with 1/1 counters, adapt, graft, evolve, all that stuff. It was some of my favorite play styles growing up and every time we visit Ravnica in the game. And I just feel like I'm devastated at the current state of the Simic Combine, being a professed Simic enjoyer. Now, the Simic have been utterly devastated by the Phyrexian invasion, mostly by their own hand, unfortunately. It seems the mad scientists of the Simic, who are always looking to push the bounds of evolution, saw the glistening oil and just thought, you know what? The next step of evolution's right there. Just drink it up, just do a little drinky drink, and then you become the next level of evolutionary standard. Anyway, sort of to just wrap up this point, the Simic Combine are in disarray after the invasion of Phyrexia, and it's up to Vannifar and Zagana to kind of work together with the dueling ideologies of the Simic to push them into the future of Ravnica. But as of right now, it's sad to say that the Simic are not where they used to be in their former glory and where I learned to love them as a guild. They're still personally my favorite guild with some of my favorite mechanics of all time and my favorite color pairing. So I'm still going to be Team Simic for the time being, but let's see what happens to them in Murders at Karlov Manor. And there you guys go. Those are my speculation, what's going to happen in the story and what's going to happen in the game for Murders at Karlov Manor. And now I want to put it back on you guys to be brutally honest, and I mean brutally honest, about how you feel about this sort of video format. Should I do more of these in the future? Sort of like rambling, just like off the cuff, my ideas and thoughts and theories on Magic the Gathering? Should I do more of these in the future, or should I axe them right now and stick more with my essay-style videos? Now, just the preference of everything, I am not going to stop making those videos regardless. I love just sitting down and writing through a script and being more precise with all my information, but I wanted to use these videos sort of just to add a little bit of my own personal touch and personal identity into them. So if you did enjoy it and want to see more, make sure you hit the like button, become a subscriber, and of course share it with friends. It goes a long way in helping this community grow. As always guys, thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, see ya!